On your marks, get set. You're falling apart. You've felt amazing in training. This whole build-up, you've felt strong, you felt confident, you've prepared your best self, and suddenly on the start line, you're falling apart. You might have asked your friends to come, your family to come watch, I'm flying, I'm ready to go, and you're falling apart. You want to go home, you'd rather be in the house, you're nervous, you're anxious, you've let the occasion get the best of you. Let's dive into how we can help that. Let's dive into how we can stop that from happening in future and make sure all the hard work you're doing, all the training you're doing, it's not for nothing, because you're going to handle race day like a pro. Let's dive into it. You're not alone, but let's help you race better in future. Okay, so what's the deal? Why is it so close to those big races, no matter maybe how hard you've trained, how hard you've worked? 2 weeks before the race, you feel like a wrecking ball. Maybe something hurts a little bit, doesn't matter, doesn't faze you. You would run through walls. 1 week to go, nerves are kicking in a bit. I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. Why did this pace feel easier a week ago? 2 days before a race, why does my throat hurt? And now my hip hurts. What is going on? What's going on with that psychology and the body physically in that final period before that big race, before that big important race? And there lies the first problem. You're making this big important race bigger than you are, bigger than everything. It's that expectation of that's the big day. It's like you're walking out into the Colosseum and you're going to be judged by the whole world. You're not. You're making this race bigger than it needs to be, much, much bigger than it needs to be. It's important, it's a race, but that's why getting closer to that race, your psychology's starting to fall apart. When you're just going training, when you're just going for a run, intervals, tempo, marathon, long run, you might have even been hungover. You've probably done training that was harder than race day will be. Maybe you didn't sleep good, maybe you're stressed at work, maybe you're hungover, but you got it done. You went out there, it felt like a small thing, and you handled it way better. But then when it comes to race day, my sports psychologist, Michael Gervais, I asked him, why are we crumbling so close to races? You'll run through a wall last week, this week you're nervous, you're on the floor, you're letting it get the better of you. We make these races too big. They're important, but it's just a race. You need to minimize the race. It's important to you, you're going to work really hard, but it's not bigger than you are. You're bigger than the race. Your preparation is what's going to help you feel bigger than the race, and that's our next topic. Preparation. Do you have every right to be nervous? Are you supposed to be anxious? Do you lose discipline on race day and make a mess of it? Do you have a race plan and do you follow it? Maybe you should be nervous. Maybe you're not practicing these things in training. Maybe you're not practicing discipline in training. Did you stick to the plan? Did you execute the plan thoroughly? And is that helping your confidence going into the race? Lots of runners struggle on race day and they lose their discipline. And so all your previous experience of races have ended badly. It's no wonder you're anxious. It's no wonder you're nervous. You need to start working on your discipline and training. Maybe you're going to do 3 times 1 mile. Maybe you're going to run them at 7 minutes. And for once in your life, you slow it down and you do it at 7 minutes. You teach yourself that discipline and training so that on race day you have that discipline. Number 1 is practice stressful situations. I mean, set up things in training like time trials, like training with somebody else. Set up stressful situations that's going to expose you to some of the likely feelings that you'll have in race day. Number 2, race. Enter park runs, enter local, smaller races that might not be the big marathon goal, the big half marathon goal, but expose yourself to those situations. I ran a relay race yesterday because I wanted to expose myself to racing before I get the London Marathon, the big goal, or Berlin Marathon, the big goal, and suddenly I fall apart because I've not exposed myself to racing. I'm a 2:09 marathon runner. I still get nervous. I still need to practice handling those nerves, handling that anxiety, going through that pin in the race number on. It's important to practice. Number 3, prepare. Prepare as best you can. tick all the boxes, do your recovery stuff, work on your psychology, meditate, journal, be disciplined in your training. If you've discipline in your training, you'll be disciplined on race day. Prepare as best you possibly can, and that's going to give you the best chance of race day of handling it really well. If you're working on these things and you're disciplined in training and you've practiced and you've gone to races, the next thing you can start to do is prepare your psychology for race day. You need your psychology in a good place so that you handle race day really, really well. Now let's take a look at your psychology and what you can do to improve it, to make sure if the friends come, the family comes, maybe the granny comes, you're ready to show up on race day. You don't want to go home, you're ready to perform. Let's talk about the psychology. Race visualization is the first important thing that you're going to start working on for your psychology. One of my secrets or tips for getting the psychology in a good place is I go into the bathroom, usually I'm in a hotel the night before a big marathon, I turn the room completely dark, and I get into this state of almost zen. And that's the moment where I think about the race start line, I think about the gun going, I think about myself sticking to that disciplined plan, not, going off track, not going too quick. And I see it. I see the gun go, I see myself charging off, I see myself looking down, getting into that rhythm. Race visualization is so important. Start to use race visualization, start to see yourself driving to the course, putting on your number, getting that final nutrition into the body. Go through all of that so that on race day it's not a shock. You cannot possibly expect your body to perform or your psychology on race day if it's a shock to the system. You need to visualize that race day. Planning your race with 1 week to go. Plan the race with 1 week to go to make sure that on race day, when your nerves are high and that anxious is a little bit high, you don't let the occasion get the better of you and perhaps you go too fast, you go too hard, you don't stick to your plan. Have a race plan, set it up a week before, base it on where you know your fitness is at. By fact, have you done a race in the build-up? How's the training been going? Be super honest with yourself, set up that plan, look at that plan the night before the race, the morning of the race, and then stick to it. So my third piece of advice linked to the psychology is mantras. My 3 mantras are, I'm an animal, I have a world-class running economy, and I'm the fastest marathon runner in Ireland. As it stands on paper, I can't argue with those. On race day when it gets tough, I can be an animal. I remember in London really starting to struggle. And I mean really starting to struggle. I was still on pace to run 2:09, but as early in the race as mile 12, I was struggling. And I started to call on those mantras just to get me through the next mile. I thought to myself, what would the people who support me, my friends, my family, what do they think I'd do in this situation? Do they think I'd give up, or do they think I'd keep fighting? And I just remember smiling, thinking, all the people that support me, they think I'm an animal. They think not only would I have kept going, I'd handled this situation really well. It's easy in those tough moments to doubt yourself, but have mantras that you can call upon. The emotions, feelings, they will overwhelm you, they will get heavy, they will get deep, because it is difficult. But have mantras that you can call upon to hold you in a good place, get you through that next mile, and get you closer to that finish line. Now that we've talked about the psychology, let's start to talk about the preparation itself in terms of physical and how you can prepare yourself better for that next race. Okay, so now we're talking about the physical preparation, the training. Have you prepared yourself specifically for the race that you're gonna run? And if you haven't, well then yeah, you have every right to be nervous, you have every right to be anxious. You should be. In the preparation, if you prepare right and you train the systems in the right way, let me tell you, that will help race day a lot. What tends to happen is people start to struggle physically on race day, then the psychology starts to fall apart because you didn't do the right training. If you haven't done the right training, if you haven't trained specifically for the race that you're going to run, i.e. half marathon, marathon, if you haven't ran at those paces, if you haven't ran at those intensities, well then of course when it starts to get tough on race day, it doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist monk, you will struggle because your body physically is falling apart. There is nothing you can do. That's not a mind over matter thing. That's not a goose fraba. You're gonna struggle because you're not prepared. So make sure in the training build-up, you're doing everything you can to follow a good plan. It's not about being a monk, it's not about being a Buddha that doesn't feel pain, is so zen that doesn't get emotional, doesn't struggle, doesn't get nervous, doesn't get anxious, doesn't let feelings overwhelm you. Start to prepare better in terms of the actual training, and if you can bring that level up, how well prepared am I to achieve my goal? Bring that up to 100%, and believe me, your psychology, the nerves, they'll go away. Some of the biggest talkers in sport can be big talkers because they're backing it up with very thorough preparation. If you are going to race and you don't know about preparation, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, check out the website, joggingroom.com. I've covered everything you can possibly imagine, from the training, to your nutrition, to your recovery, to your psychology, to your strength and conditioning. If you can bring that I've prepared 100% up to 100%, or as close as possible, trust me, you will handle race day much better. Now, the final topic today is, what do you do on race day and how do you race like a champ? Okay, so you've got to race day. This is the final piece of the puzzle. Now that you're working on some of these basics in training, you're working on the psychology, you've prepared well, now you can invite the family, the granny, the friends, the kids, because you're ready. You'll still feel some nerves, you'll still feel anxious, but remind yourself that you're ready. A really cool little trick is to have almost like a alter ego, or when I click my fingers, I snap into that armored self. The armored self that I've been working on in this entire build-up. I've done the preparation, I've worked on the psychology, I've done the training. I'm now going to step into that armored self. That part of me that is ready to handle this. The part of me that handles this the way I know I want to handle this. Remember those early starts, remember those late nights, remember those disciplined training sessions, remember the races in the build-up that you got nervous, but you handled it really well. Remember the days where you ran big personal bests. Focus on the positives. That's what's going to really help. Try not to focus on the negatives, but they will come. But I remember a psychologist telling me, if you don't like the song on the radio, change the channel. Do the same for your psychology. If you don't like what it's telling you, change the channel, flip it to a positive. Accept that it will get really hard, but you're prepared. You're ready for this, more ready than you've ever been. So invite all the family. You've practiced, you've dealt with the nerves in stressful situations in the training build-up. You've practiced by doing races. You've worked on your mantras. Invite them all and allow yourself to enjoy it. It doesn't have to be super intense, super hard, super nerve-wracking. It's just a race, and there will always be more races. So learn to enjoy it. If you would like more help with some of this stuff, psychology, nutrition, recovery, strength conditioning, go to joggingroom.com. 12 hours of tips, 60 lectures, that will prepare you fully. But I hope you got a lot out of this video. I hope you're ready to get stuck into that next race build-up, and I hope you handle it way better. Start to enjoy it all. We're putting way too much pressure on ourselves when it's just running. I hope you enjoyed a lot. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like, subscribe, comment below if you learned something, if you picked up some tips, and have fun with it. Honestly, it's worth having fun, and I hope you enjoy races much more in future.